Dungeon Doomhands Let's Talk Lore, a podcast.
We've been playing a campaign, homebrew, and we're learning as we go. And we are going to be talking about the Green Skull. Now, for those of you who don't know about the story, I don't want to bore everyone with the big campaign. You can follow along and just read the descriptions in the YouTube channel. Essentially, there are skull-shaped emeralds that the characters are trying to find, and we've found 3 of them. One of them is the Green Skull. Now, each character is specifically drawn to that skull, and I did background research prior to starting the campaign 3.5 years ago, 85 sessions ago. It was cool. I got to learn about skull, the symbolism of skull. And
all the crystal skull lore that's in the world. It's
crazy. Yeah, it's like skulls in certain religions are obviously death, and other it's knowledge and power. And then there's in the Celtic religion, which is what Doomhand's background is. Celtic. I don't know why I chose that. I just did. It was pretty cool. The 3 holes in the skull are representative of a little bit sort of like the Trinity, but not exactly but it's more of family oriented, which is really, really cool. So I wanted to have that aspect of the skull and the symbolism of the skull, as well as the color green. And what does the color green mean in different religions and the symbolism of it? Off the top of your head.
Green of prosperity, life, of no,
nature.
Yeah, in my head I think of the plants growing, of everything flourishing,
right?
Of just that vibrancy.
And then there's also negative traits to it too. It's envy and greed, cash money, yo. There's darker shades of different shades. It's rot. So with the power of nature comes it's full throttle. It's not just the strength of the nature, but it's also it's constantly in decay as well, and fragile sort of.
The imbalance of that energy, that green energy, that nature love energy. Right. If it's too much, it overtakes everything. If it's not enough, it rots down, decays. Right. But when it's that right middle spot, it's just beautiful and harmonious.
Yes. So I think healing. There's also a wisdom aspect. But when you get into the symbolism of each color, they mean everything. But really, what does it mean in our cultural aspect when it comes to also a little bit of gaming, but also Zelda, it's all nature and stuff like that, and trees and stuff. But there's a little bit more, health, but also decay. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and I had something written, but I guess it's too much. But it's just there's a lot to it, but not and I try to incorporate them into the skull. So as we go, the first thing I wanted to talk about was how. So your character has found the skull. And you know it's important. I don't know if you know.
He's going to be studying it this whole time. He's in Frigard.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to happily be able to roll a long series of checks for all the shit he's been doing back there. But he would have been studying, so if he could find information about it, it would be that information that you're.
I think so. But is the book that you got about the skulls in general, or is it tailored towards the Green Skull, or did we just say we found notes on the skull?
I think we just said that. What's his name? I forgot the king. The King's name, King Lololo. It's like, how could I not remember his name?
The highest stats I've ever rolled, and you can check out the NPC creation in our YouTube channel. That was hilarious. It's a little bit boring to like watch the whole thing, but if you go to just the stats section, ridiculous. I think the lowest one was like 16. It was crazy, and rightfully so. But what book was it?
I think it was just going to be researching like all of there and just a book of Baal.
Yeah.
And just like the mythology of the skulls.
Yes.
I think.
Okay.
So there's my understanding is there's no real information about the partial amnesia or the deeper lore of the skull.
Okay. So what your guy is going to know is like the whole lore aspect of it. It's been 1,000 years or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, Stag does have a spell called Legend Lore. Let me pull this up and I'll read you this just so you have an idea when you start doing stuff.
What is Legend Lore?
Legend Lore, you named this, you have this, I always see it as you have this object, but the spell brings you to your mind a brief summary of the significant lore about this thing. The lore might consist of current tales, forgotten stories, or any secret lore. And this spell, if the thing you named isn't of legendary importance, and I think this skull is, if it's not legendary importance, you get no information. The more information you already have about the thing, the more precise and detailed the information you receive is.
Okay. So that's going to be something that I'm going to do live.
Yeah.
Because I don't know when you're going to do it. You know.
But that I said I think I probably would do while I'm in Trigard, like doing my study, like reading the book and then just like observing the skull.
You're going to get a lot of
information. Oh, when we get back, it's going to be. You're going to read a lot to me.
You're not going to get just information on the green skull. You're going to get the information and rumors, not necessarily fact. There's going to be it's going to be like an old book, but with notes in it. And I think the roll that you roll for the spell that you cast, you're going to be able to understand those notes. So you're going to have you're going to know somewhat of the whereabouts of the remaining skulls. And also, are there more than just the 6 that I have given you? Which is really cool because random tangent alert. There are 4 players, 5 players. There's a 6th skull. So whose that?
Well, we do know that Doomhand
is
wants the black skull.
Yes.
And spoiler alert, Doomhand is a Skull Force ninja.
I'm gonna take that away somehow. Skull Force ninja. That was my way of doing Power Rangers, but that's for another topic.
There's only 3 of us left.
Yeah. So let's talk about getting the skull inside you. So you have this green skull. It's powerful. Now your character's going to know. We're going to get into what the effects are when it gets inside you in a second.
Yeah, Stag is only going to know about like that aspect
2
of it.
aspects.
Yeah.
One is the ritual. So I think that each skull, because you are essentially going to be becoming a sage. So the sages are the holders and guardians of the skull, users of the skull. They're essentially those who are attuned with the skull, are the sages of the skull, its protector. There are, and the only way to
chosen one,
right? And the only way to do that is to put it physically into your head, and you can do that in 3 ways that we know about so far. Stag knows 2 from reading his book. One of them is the ritual. Now, there's going to be a certain steps to the ritual, and I was preparing this. There's the preparation, and there's a bunch of checks. There's a check that you need to do, and hopefully you do the role play and stuff, and I will help you with that.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a incantation of some kind. You have to speak the words to get it in. So you have to prepare your body and do a wisdom save. And I was just
You just like having me sing random Backstreet
yes,
Boys, don't you?
of course, yeah. They definitely Backstreet Boys is going to come back out. But so this is what I came up with: a wisdom check, the ritual preparation, wisdom check. So you have a bunch of visions of green fields and endless forests and forgotten knowledge that you don't know about or whatever. You see a bunch of different visions I'll give you when we play, and now you have to roll an insight check to interpret that. And if you fail, you'll get there will be effects. If you fail it, not that you the failing is not going to stop you from getting it, but you'll start feeling whispers. You'll hear whispers and you'll have exhaustion and stuff like that.
So it's like so the whole thing is going to be like a skill check across all of this. So you'll have successes and failures, and in the end you'll figure out all the things that happened based on how many times you succeeded or failed during the study and process.
Right, and are you going to get interrupted in this? I don't know. And it's okay if we make changes to it, because I don't know. Yeah. Does it need to be, the next step is going to be your spoken incantation. Can you recite what it is that needs to be said in it? And now you can make your own thing up, I think. But you'll have to do an intelligence check. I don't know exactly what, or maybe do you want me just to give you something to read and just say, well, what you were trying to say is this, or maybe I'll read it to you and you have to say it back to me. That type of thing.
A real life intelligence check. Thank you.
Yeah, but you'll roll it, and if you get it, I'll just say this is what you say. But if you don't, go ahead and say it,
Well, I'll figure. I don't know.
And then the failure for that is going to be some psychic damage, and you'll lose some intelligence. You'll lose some temporary intelligence as your mind becomes fragmented, as it readies to absorb and become one with the skull. It breaks, and your intelligence check is to see if you can hold it all together, and if you can't, cool. but these are high rolls.
Yeah.
So do you stop here and wait for that to end before moving
give
further?
Give yourself time to try and instead of just all right, I'm gonna keep going, push through this. All right, I need to hold on, sit back, rest a little, recover, and then go back into it.
So you failed the wisdom save of 16, right?
Yeah.
Now you're at level of exhaustion, but you feel like you've interpreted the visions of the incantation.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where you learn it from. And do you move forward? You guys have to do some stuff, and it's 1d6 days of exhaustion. So now you got to figure, what do you do?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
maybe 1d4. Maybe 1d4.
No, I like that.
Yeah, because listen, it's
not supposed to be easy.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Another random DM tip: don't make everything easy.
No,
make things fucking as hard as possible.
Yes. So then you move on to the next thing. You take a bunch of psychic damage, 4d6 psychic damage if you fail, and then you lose intelligence. Do you stop there and move on? Do you absorb that? Do you continue to attune on your own and then come back to do the bonding of the mind? The bonding of the mind and bone. So this part, and I'll change it, but this part is going to be, it melts into your forehead. Put it up, now you're bonding with it. Melts into your forehead and into your brain. You have to do a Constitution save. A high one.
Over the next 1d20 days or something, it slowly seeps in deeper. Yeah. So it's at every point, it's just part way out of your head.
Can you withstand the immense pain and fusion of this? And I feel like this bonding experience is going to be the same for every skull. It will be different roles for the type of skull you have. And I think Constitution, I think Intelligence and Wisdom sort of are representative of the green, of the color green, more so than dexterous and
Charisma.
Charisma. I don't.
Even though that's
Maybe.
all of Stag's stats.
Yeah.
As you're saying that, I'm like, oh shit, Stag's dumb stats are intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
When you fail your Constitution save, you fall unconscious for 1d6 hours, and you suffer a permanent sensitivity to bright light.
Oh.
So any perception checks during the day are done at disadvantage.
Yeah, so you get the old school drow kobold light sensitivity.
Yes.
I like that.
However, because it's hard, once you get there, you have a unique role-playing effect that I came up with.
Yep. Okay.
It's called Seeker of the Truth. The character occasionally hears whispers of ancient knowledge, but must roll a charisma check whenever they attempt to recall it.
I love this.
On a fail, the knowledge turns against them. Now it says DM's discretion. I was looking up all this stuff. I don't know how to interpret that exactly.
Well, what I was thinking, I know this is something we talked about before when we were just brainstorming stuff about the skull, is there has been many sages in the past. And just like anything powerful, whoever possesses it isn't always a good person. Right. So it could be the charisma check, and if you fail it, you didn't understand who you're connecting to, and maybe you connect to one of those evil sages that was there.
And the voice sounds the same or something.
Yeah, it's still, you think it's a helpful sage, you think it's it's a sage, but you don't know if they're a good or a bad person. You don't know if they're going to try and help you or try and screw you over because they want to kill you and take over you over.
Here's a world building. You hear whispers of Gabriella, the good sage, when you have a good charisma check.
Yeah.
When you have a bad one, perhaps you hear a different voice. Who is that?
Yeah.
Maybe it was another sage.
Know.
When you attune to, so that was the first method, the ritual.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn all about that, and your character will know that. And
I think
your character will be able to tell other people about that.
So, question. The possibility of death during the ritual.
Very high.
Okay, good.
So I have to incorporate that portion of it.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're already at 4d6 psychic damage. I think that if you roll I was going to say natty 1 on any of these rolls, it's not necessarily dead, but it opens a doorway to another, like, how can these guys help you? Well, if you roll a natty 1, does the skull break, disappear? If you roll a natty 1, do you just die?
If this whole thing is like a skill check, and when I run skill checks, a nat 1 or a nat 20 it basically like counts as a double success or a double failure. So in my mind, on whatever task you're doing, say it's remembering or like trying to understand the words, whatever like a failure would be of you can't speak the words, that effect amplified of like it's a language that you can't understand and your mouth just can't put the words out there. So maybe you have to find someone who can teach you a language so that you can be able to speak it, to be able to try and do that. Of like your whole on a nat 1, your whole ritual is just stop now because you cannot complete the incantation until you figure something out to try and continue on it.
I think that's a great. I think like each one of these will have a nat 1 roll. So the ritual preparation, ritual nat 1, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You're not ready. You need to, go long rest a couple more. You need to, come back in 1d whatever days.
Like what you said, as you're trying to set up this ritual, you become exhausted,
overwhelmed. Yeah,
overwhelmed, and you have a panic attack, and you become exhausted and can't do anything for a d6 days.
Invocation.
Yeah.
The invocation then is not just psychic damage and a reduction in intelligence. It'll also be you don't know the ritual.
Or, in addition, not just the psychic damage, maybe you gain a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Maybe this is where you start throwing in those detrimental effects.
Yeah. And then the third
But
one, the third one might be just death.
Yeah.
Like melding
I think
your head.
I think at like a certain point in there,
Yeah.
like the first couple of rolls, it's like warning of there are very bad things if you suck at all of this.
Yes.
So definitely, like having a really bad negative effect if you fail horribly the first couple ones, because there's
Yeah.
a lot to go.
Yeah. And you're gonna roll.
But then that really makes him think of like, how can I gain the most benefits to these rolls? Get all the magic I can, all the help I can.
I'd like to be able to see the roll, so I might force you to do it on Tabletop Simulator. On the, I'll create a good. I'll create
absolutely.
I'll create a good. I'll get something. I'll download something for you. So, but before we get into it, because there's other options here. The other method besides the ritual is the trial of Emerald Brutality. And this is the old trick of the forceful impact insertion. No partial amnesia, total recall element used. This is just taking
shoving it in
and smashing it against your head as hard as you can in the most brutal fashion. You'll have a DC 20 strength check. I don't know that might work for the barbarian. And break through, and it breaks through the bone, and it forces the crystal in. The failure, and this might be death, the skull fractures, and it deals 6d6. Now I might just go ahead and up that to like a ridiculous amount, and because you might be able to survive. You guys have medical staff on hand.
The skull is it wants to fuse with the skull. It wants to fuse with the host. The thing that came to my mind is if it shatters, it's going to have all these shards all right there. Let's pull inspiration from some movies. Iron Man. All the little metal shards,
yes.
How he puts it starts seeping into you, and you have a day before it kills you.
Yeah, and the negative thing we can change these. The negative was permanently disfigure. So you have negative on all charisma based checks except for intimidation, because obviously I think disfigured dude coming up to you and yelling at you is a little intimidating. But there's also another one where it's once you get it inside and you pass. I like that. If it shatters, then you have 1d4 days. 1d4 days
piercing your skull.
Yeah, 1d4 day before you die. So like now, what is that character gonna do, and that player gonna do, knowing his imminent death is coming? Is he gonna sacrifice himself for the group in some ridiculous way?
You can do a every so many hours. I don't know.
After so many hours, your permanent HP gets halved.
Yeah, or like drops by a d20 or something.
Yeah,
or one of your hit dice.
Yeah. And then once it gets inside, there's a step 2 to the smashing element. Yeah. I went really crazy on this one. You have to do a Constitution saving throw again, because that's the name of the game. Can you handle it? Remain in control. On a failure, you go berserk 1d6 rounds, and you attack all allies and enemies alike.
So you're telling me this is the perfect thing for Wilbur?
Yeah.
Like getting this green skull in him Wilbur was the perfect character that I've ever created to do this. Because everything that we've discussed so far, Wilbur is like amazing at.
So funny. And I think that there's going to be and then the unique roleplay effect. Once you get it in, if you do it this way, it changes. You no longer have the Seeker of Truth. You're now the Beast of Green Fury. And When your character drops below half point, you do a wisdom saving throw. If you don't, you gain 2 damage, but you gain plus 2 damage, but you lose the ability to distinguish between friend and foe for however many
until you're healed above
your
your half hit points.
Yes. Yeah.
And I like that. It's just the one check every time you go under, every time you get damaged underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I like the shattering of the skull. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I like the you could also, there could be a side quest. I had in my mind a side quest. I don't want to ruin the story, but you guys if you want to use partial amnesia, the third method, there is a side quest where if it does shatter or it gets lodged, there's going to be something on partial amnesia that will shrink the group to a molecular level that will allow you to go into the body, and your body will then become the dungeon while the characters go through it and try to grab the pieces.
Here's the other thing that you could do with this. I know you said with partial amnesia, one of the failure points could be the tool breaks, and there's a part of it stuck inside of his head. Might have a shrink ray or a shrinking machine, because Trigard is a magical city of the most incredible inventors in the world. It doesn't have to be in that little tool, and I know I have been hinting at, or I think I openly said that else. I think, it's just like finding that other quest giver, the person to help solve the problem. You don't have to have the solution there for it.
I just think it's going to be good. So let's dive in. Hold on. Let's dive in before we go on to random tangents.
It's me tonight, not you.
Yeah, what you don't know. Yes, definitely. What you don't know. Partial amnesia. I guess this is part 2 of the Let's Talk Lore Green Skull. Well, actually, we haven't even got into the part 2, the exciting part about what it does to you. Partial amnesia. So partial amnesia is essentially the exact opposite of the total recall device that Arnold Schwarzenegger uses to shove up his nose to take out the tracking device. It's this time you put the same exact looking thing, but it's stone, and you're shoving it in. So what is that? How do you do that? So first off, you have to find someone who knows how to use it, which is Dr.
Someone who knows how to use it is Evil.
Yeah, Evil. And I think a well-known doctor who might not know 100% how to use it, but who is well-versed in the human anatomy, or anatomies of all kinds, is the other doctor that's trying to...
He can help you try and figure it out.
Gain advantage on using it is what I'll tell the group.
My thought for that is meta. Evil has a book of notes of how to use partial amnesia.
Yes.
So my thought is if you can convince Evil to get those notes, you might gain advantage on using partial amnesia. And if not, if you just have it, you have no idea how to, you're just, shoving it in, hoping for the best.
I can't wait to meta all week about the notebook with you. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to read that text chain. That's hilarious.
But I was thinking the doctor could actually, instead of giving them advantage, can help them understand how to use it so that they could use it on their own. But if they have Evil's notes, they have all the special. They have the secret little twist that no one knows about, but Evil put it in there that extends it up a little further, or who knows what.
Maybe that gives you the advantage.
Yeah, the book gives you the advantage to fine tune the tool when you're using it, not just use it.
So what I had put together for the partial amnesia thing, and I don't know if we need to do it, but was just obviously there's going to be a hard dexterity because you're going in to avoid. And who's rolling? Who's using?
Well, I was just thinking that is it a party member? Because it's definitely. I don't think Stag's going to want to shove this thing up his own nose.
Yeah, no, you can't. You have to have someone else do it. And maybe, maybe you have a party member smash it into your head, but you have to do the strength check.
Yeah.
But so like this dexterity, so like the person doing it, is he going to rupture a blood vessel, damage your brain? And if you suffer, you have a permanent intelligence and wisdom due to the neurological damage.
Yeah.
You're also going to take like a bunch of damage as well.
Yeah. I think in general, doing that, Stag, if all the rules max out, Stag should die just from the force and pain of doing this. If there's no other help or aid applied to him.
Yeah, and I think you'll lose. I think no matter what way you go, you're going to lose for a moment major events in your life. You're going to forget, which will be me giving you guys the ability to tell me a little bit more about your character. Because which did you forget?
Events in your life
you forget 2 events? What events do you forget? And how is that going to affect? And maybe it's just one. You forget one of the most important memories that you have. And how is that going to affect your character's role playing from here on out?
Oh my goodness.
So does that change your character's alignment? That's a question that will happen later on.
It could.
But
it absolutely could.
You will have the ability to remember it through dreams. So when you long rest, I might just give you a little oomph, if you need it. That's just nice.
Well, how messed up is that going to be for a person? You completely forget a major turning point or moment in your life, and you start living your life without that, and then you get memories of it coming back. Stag banging the Mind Flayer.
Like maybe you forget that. Maybe Matt's character forgets that the world is flat.
You think the tentacle scar on his arm is just a tattoo? Or a burn mark?
Yeah. Okay, so we could pause here and do a third Let's Talk Lore tonight about the effects of the Green Skull going.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
because this was the process of putting it in.
Give us a moment. We're going to be right back for the third part of the evening's Let's Talk Lore special third-parter. The Green Skull, the Green Sage. What's going on with that?
Dungeon Doom Hands Let's Talk Lore, a podcast.